What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy V Moss here. Special guest, my man Shomi Patwary. I said that right? I don't want to mess it up.
Definitely did. What's up, man? Here.
So, Shomi, big influential person in the music space, especially in the blog era times of how content became what you guys know it is today. Specifically, it had some opportunities to do that with Pharrell, Clipse, Neptunes. So, Shomi, why don't you introduce yourself to the people, give a little bit of background.
So yeah, I'm Shomi Patwary. I run a company called Illusive Media, and we started out as a multimedia company 20 years ago, and now we're more focused on mainly video production, creative direction, but we still dabble in everything, behind the scenes, a lot more of the marketing and things like that people don't see on the website or know what we're kind of behind, when it comes to like projects and stuff like that. But more on the front end, we operate as basically a video production company. I'm one of the directors in the production company, founders, and then we have a few other directors that we've signed. And yeah.
So, you're born in Bangladesh originally?
Yeah, I was born in Bangladesh. I moved here when I was 8 years old. We first lived in New York for a year, and that was tough. This is the 90s,
Yeah.
like 1990, straight out, like really, really tough to be out there. And then my uncle's like, nah, you got to move to Virginia Beach, Virginia. And changed my life, right? Like that changed the course of my life in many ways because like growing up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we were around all this dope music, but I never realized some of was coming out of the area. Like even when Rex and Effect came out, I was in sixth grade or fifth grade. Rump Shaker came out. It was just the soundtrack I thought the whole world was listening to, not realizing that that video was shot in Virginia Beach in
Right.
our backyard. And to make it crazier, in sixth grade, Pharrell's mom was our teacher, my
Wow.
core teacher,
That's
Miss Williams. So she was like, yeah, my son has something to do with that record. We're like, whatever. I was like, yeah, sure, okay, cool. We believe you. So then it wasn't until what, like maybe 10 years after, 10, 12 years after, all of a sudden I see Miss Williams and I make the connection for L. Williams. I'm like, wait a minute. That's our sixth grade teacher who said her son made that record. So like that was interesting, but growing up in Virginia Beach, it's like what you see, it's just like you were black, brown, whatever color, it didn't matter. We kind of like dressed a certain way. It was a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of skate, but that was early for us, because Tony Hawk, Serge Ventura, they would all be at Mount Trashmore Park. Tony Hawk would come down and skate over there. Virginia Beach to me is interesting because it's a military area. So you attracted people from all walks of life, a lot of Asian people. It's like some people call it Little Manila because it's got one of the most concentrated Filipinos in the area, hence Chad Hugo coming out
right.
of there. So like growing up, we had a lot of Filipino friends. It was diverse, but not like a forced diversity. It's just we were just like confused because it's the South at the same time, sort of mid-Atlantic. But like we gravitated towards that East Coast feel, East Coast sound. But then we still love like the California skate culture and surf culture. So, that's the aesthetic of Virginia Beach and it's influenced our sound,
For sure. And that's something that I've talked on this show about, like with mostly with my guy Michael Denzel Smith, who we had on. He's a New York Times bestselling author, but he went to Hampton with us. But we had him on to talk about the 20th anniversary of Laura Willing and just kind of like that feel. I'm from Richmond, but I went to Hampton and my mom went to Hampton, so I spent time in the 757. It's
I
just like,
worked at Hampton at one point.
yeah, yeah. So
I
it's
worked
just
at
like
Hampton for like 3 years.
it's like, like you just said, we are in the South, but we didn't necessarily subscribe to that really dirty South type of
Yeah, it
right?
wasn't dirty South.
Right. Yeah, that allowed us to be more of a melting pot of like a mixture of everything.
Right. But it's funny because of where we were in Virginia, we wouldn't discriminate based on the coastal sound of a certain area or like, oh, this is like Master P. We don't listen to that. No, we listen to everything. So like we were not discriminating on any particular sound. We took all of it in. Like if you came to Virginia, you could get, you would go to a club and they would book Wu-Tang. They would book Cash Money. They would book all these things. So you had that melting pot of music as well
Yeah.
happening, which I think is responsible for the Virginia sound. And going into that, like when I think it was 1998, I had heard of the Neptunes. I was still in high school. And the only reason was because of Superthug. You know,
Mm.
Superthug came out. I didn't realize they were from Virginia Beach till we were at a pep rally and our step team was coming out to Superthug. And then when Pharrell said, "Oh, you found Manuel Noriega in the Philippines," all the Filipino kids started stomping their bleachers and they're like, "Yeah, it's that VA shit," you know. And I was like, "What? What are y'all talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, my cousin Chad, he's in the Neptunes," you know. Every Filipino kid claimed Chad was their cousin. And it was funny for me because even though I'm Bengali, you know, closer to like South, you know, in South Asia, a lot of the kids thought I was Filipino just because most of my friends were Filipino and just they thought that by just association, you know. But it was funny because like all the Filipino kids really took into like the b-boy culture and hip hop. Like they really loved old school hip hop culture. Even in '97, like we were like breakdancing and doing graffiti, all that stuff. Like this is stuff you would hear about in the '80s. We were still reliving that in the '90s. So like you could catch Chad Hugo. By the time I went to college at ODU, we had an event called All School, and you would see Chad pop up and just start breakdancing. You know,
Mm.
so like you started seeing like a little bit of that culture come together. You know, you would have all these Asian kids that were like hooking up their cars like Fast and Furious. And then we'd all go to the IHOP and then you'd see Pharrell, Khalees, and Chad and the Clipse before they were even that big, just chilling at the IHOP. You just run into them and everybody's like, yo, that's them. So like there was this like mysticism behind it all for us on another level. But it was special because like, oh, we're so close to like having that level of like talent be near us. Like maybe it'll rub off on everybody and we could be part of the industry. And that's what motivated me. I was like, when we realized like, oh, this is hometown heroes and realized Missy, Pharrell, Knots, Bink, all these people. And at that time, especially in the early 2000s, Bink had that one record, Lights, Camera, Action. It
Mm.
was big at the time. Missy was on the remix. And then Knots was doing G Unit and all these crazy records for Snoop and all this stuff was coming out.
Yep.
And Neptunes, you know, because a lot of people don't know Knots did the original version of Past the Cavarcier and
Mm-hmm.
Pharrell did the remix, but they're all like homies. Like everybody knew each other. I was just still in college, just wowed. I'm like, how can I get to this? You know?
Yeah, and like you said, obviously it just speaks to the whole concept of something in the water, right? Just like
Yeah.
us being around it and just being so adjacent to it and realizing, oh wow, like if they can do it, we can do it too. Like I had a similar, I got work in sports, right? So I have a similar perspective on it. Summer, like not summertime, but at Hampton, Iverson would come to the courts behind the dorm and play in the
Yeah.
offseason. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just like those people having such big characters, big
Oh,
like
yeah.
accomplished people in their fields just come back to the 757 like it's nothing
Yeah.
and
Like
around.
when we do parties, AI would be at our VIP. We just get them a bottle of Dom, you know, like it's crazy, you know. I mean, yeah, it sounds insane to think about, but that's what made me want to make music, like produce, because my first passion was making music,
Gotcha.
you know. But you know, we were naive, you know, we were driven by passion to make the music, and so it was embarrassing. You know, the first time I ever met Pusha T, I did the dumbest thing ever. I handed him my beat tape, you know. We were at Master Sounds. And how did I get there? I got there because their A&R at the time, Doug Dozier, had said, yo, like these guys could use some of your help, especially Fam. Fam's having some issues with the label, like on the Def Jam side, not the Star Trak side, obviously.
Mhm.
So, you know, I went in there. First thing I did instead of like, but I realized like Pusha looked at me like, what the fuck is this kid giving me? And it was funny because all our beats sounded like fake Neptunes beats anyways and fake Timberland beats because we would chop the snares and kicks off of it and use Fruity Loops. You know, we had a bootleg copy of Fruity Loops back then, and I knew Pat Pryor, you know, from the forums.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it was a weird time because I'd be on the Star Trak forum, and as soon as I had access to that Star Trak studio, I started taking photos. Hey guys, I'm in the studio. Like, look, that's the NERD hat with the gold plaque. Yo, that's the BMI thing for Justin Timberlake. Like, I was in the midst of all that, and it was crazy because I was still just a kid, you
Right.
know, probably doing shit I shouldn't have been doing. Like, probably shouldn't have been filming some of this stuff, you
That's
know?
dope, man. That's dope. Shout out to Pat Pryor. That was a dope episode we had with
Yeah.
him last year. So talk
Mm-hmm.
about like what was the first instance you mentioned like being in the studio to help out with some beats. Like, but what was the first real instance where like show me, yo, we're gonna do some work. Like when they really say, okay, cool, like
It did it. It took a little bit of time at first because first time we were just trying to get Pharrell's attention. So what had happened was I threw a crazy house party and all these people came out and people were like saying, Pharrell and Chad might come. They're in town, some bullshit. But then a friend of mine came, Jared, who was producing for Family as well. And then Jared was like, yo, we got this dude, Nicholas F., aka Nick Fury. Like, yo, let's blow him up instead. Let's focus on that. Maybe Timbaland or somebody will hear it and sign him. And so I was always on the forum, like spreading Nick's music at the same time, and that attracted Drake, through the forum. That's how I met Drake, was through the forum. But the forum was more of like a way, it was like early social media for us. It was a way for us to flex like what was going on in our real life. And luckily my real life, Jared had made that connection to the A&R, Doug Dozier, because Doug Dozier goes back with the NERD. Like he was helping concept the original NERD logo, marketing, take him to band practice, all that stuff. Yeah. So for us, Doug was a local legend too, So when we got to Doug first project he hired me to do, look, I didn't even like the band, really. I don't want to say that, but Toke, they were signed to Star Trak. You would see it on their roster on the website, but nobody remembers them. They were signed to Star Trak, and Doug was the one that signed them. I was not a fan of their music, but Doug was like, yo, let's do their website. So, paid me like a few $100s to do Toke's website, did their like flyer or album art or whatever we could do, but I was like, you know what? I wasn't going to be like, I'm too cool to work with this band I don't like. I was like, I know they're signed to Pharrell. So like, that's all that matters. This is a way in. So Doug was impressed with the artwork I was doing for Toke. He's like, yo, you gotta help Fam out because he's in this crazy situation. Like he just put out Rock and Roll, but like I don't think the label's understanding him. And he's talking about the Def Jam side of it, not the Star Trak. The Star Trak's operating like a small label. Def Jam is is the one that's really putting up the bread. So I meet Sean, I forgot his last name, Javier or something. He was at Star Trak, and Mick Moreno, was at Star Trak. He was Pharrell's assistant for a long time. Mm-hmm. So like it felt unreal because that's when he started getting emails with the whatever at StarTrakMusic.com. I was like, oh shit, we made it. It's like I'm getting emails from like at StarTrakMusic.com. This is crazy. And so that was like the real stepping into like getting my feet wet into the thing. And then I was like, hey guys, I'll do anything you want. I don't care. You need to burn CDs for you? Sure. I did. Like Fam was just recording his mixtape and I'd be in the studio every day just to just soak it all in. So I'd just be filming everything, with like a little handy cam camera, a Best Buy camera for like $300 or $400 or whatever on DV tapes. So like we filming Fam, and then Pusha would show up, and then Pusha's recording. I'm filming that too. They didn't care for some reason, I'm actually shocked. Then Kenna would show up, and then I'm filming Kenna. So then I'm meeting everybody that's coming through. Roscoe P shows up. I'm filming Roscoe, So like I'm meeting everybody at Star Trak except for Pharrell. So like I didn't get to meet Pharrell for a while, honestly. We acted like, yeah, we're like tight, but like I didn't really get to meet Pharrell for a while. And I'll go into that, but you got to think, what that still felt like, because they were like, they still are, but early 2000s, dude, you couldn't escape them. So to be around all that talent, I thought I had made it already then, even though we weren't getting a penny, and that was just due to not me knowing business. Like they would have paid it if you asked them, and they did. Like when I did ask for my first payment, it was so huge. I was like, oh shit, you can make money off this. I could actually tell my parents, because I remember first time I worked on something for NERD was concepting a video game for Fly or Die, but I was way too ambitious. My friend Chris Toon, who now manages Shaolin, who Pusha T signed 20 years back later, 20 years later, Chris somehow connects back with them, but Chris at the time didn't know the guys. I was the connect. Shay would come to the T-Mobile that my manager was working at. That's how I met Shay. Wow. I met Shay separately from Family and Doug, So Shay was like, yo, you gotta like put this idea together for a video game. Then we got to do something next level for Fry or Die. I was so overly ambitious. We came up with like a 3D game that was like Final Fantasy, wow. Right? And then I guess they took it to marketing. They're like, there's no way in fucking hell we can fund this. I was so heartbroken, and Chris was so heartbroken. And I think Pat still had the demo. I have like a video of a 3D version of Pharrell and the NERD Brain flying, and we were doing that on like the first version of Cinema 4D. Wow. I guess we were ahead of the game, but like 2 ahead, And so then they had released a game, but it was like a 2D top view flash game that you can play on the Fly or Die website, nowhere near what we were trying to do. So that was funny. And then I hadn't seen Shay in a while. Like I was so like distraught from like not being part of that. We were part of that project, but not at the same time, right? We were pitching basically, working on the marketing side, coming up with like, oh, there should be a game. So eventually they realized they need to do a game. They did a game. It's just not what we thought it would be, you know? So like Fly or Die comes out now. Clipse is having label issues. First Family was having label issues. Now Clipse is having label issues. Arista. So Doug was like, talk to Pusha, man. Like maybe you could do their album cover. I was like, all right, not the album cover, but the mixtape cover. I lied to them and said, yeah, I can do it. Like I'd never done a mixtape cover really before. I made a beat tape CD cover, but you know, I was just like, I'll learn it, you know? And then that led me to meeting Pharrell for the first time because it came close to like revising the mixtape cover. So Push was like, just come by. Like, we can't do this over the phone. So when Push was like, come by, he gave me an address. I'm like, how's Pusha living like this? This house is insane. Like by the water, I go inside. Oh, first of all, there's a Rolls Royce parked outside. I was like, what? This can't be Pusha's crib. Didn't realize Pusha was Pharrell's roommate. Didn't realize Shay was their roommate. Is that at the time when this is when Pharrell was dating Vashti. So when I go to the house, I see Pharrell there and Vashti there. I'm trying to play it cool. I'm like, yo, keep it cool. Because it's weird, you know, you're still a fan. So I'm just like, yeah, Pharrell, like, you know, this idea is like us trying to redo Ice-T cover because Pusha loves Ice-T, you know? Like, so we're just like tapping into this vintage. I'm like trying to make it bigger than it is, you know, trying to impress. And I'm like, dude, get over yourself. Like, these guys have some of the best artists. You're just some fucking kid in college. I was still in college trying to like explain them my process, trying to be all serious. But, you know, Pharrell was super kind, you know, the first time we met. And he was like, oh, that's cool. Thank you for helping us out, you know? And I'm like on his MacBook, like opening up the files. And I remember Vashti joking around with Pusha, like, yo, let me get on the mixtape. I could spit something. You know, just joking around. I'm just like observing all this because I'm like, yo, this is the shit you see paparazzi and everybody posting on the internet. Like you see Pharrell and Vashti together. And I'm like here with them. This is insane. So it's always been a weird thing for me because these guys are bigger than life. And then you get to be next to them. The fan shit never goes away for me. You know, like with Rocky and Ferg, when I met them later on, is different because we came up together.
Right.
I didn't come up with, you know, Pharrell and them. I met them when they were already gigantic. I played no role in them getting any bigger. They played a role in me, you know,
right.
My business to another level by association. So like when I did we got it for cheap mixtape cover, like that led me to like doing the family mixtape cover next. So then, you know, sorry, I'm gonna just keep talking if you don't ask me questions.
You're good. You're good. These are
interject and ask me something about any of this.
These are great stories, man. Great stories. I wanted to just hop in because you were talking about how you got started with them and you're just shooting everything. There's that infamous story on Desus and Mero where Pusha says that he bought the camera for you. Is that true or not?
Yeah. He didn't buy that camera. He bought me like my first professional camera.
Gotcha.
That was like years later. I was always around them, always filming. You see him, he says, yo, show me, man, get that camera off me. But yeah, because I just didn't know when to quit, you know, filming because I'd be at the party, I'd be at the VIP, the camera's on me. I'll never forget in 2009, I had the camera on for Pharrell and he was saying some personal, like not personal, but like some business shit that I should be recording. I was like, yo, man, turn that shit off. I was like, oh shit. And then Malice like laughs it off, you know, Malice like laughing at me. You got cursed out. You know, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm okay with being cursed out by Pharrell. You know, like that was at the time when Yen Lee was there. Yen Lee was managing P, so we were in LA. My first time in LA ever. They were shooting I'm Good. So like what was happening, I was shooting more and more BTS. Shot the BTS for kind of like a big deal with Kanye and all them. Rest in peace to the director. I think he passed away.
Wow.
Bernard Cooley. Yeah.
Wow.
He passed away. It was my first time, my second time being on a real video set. So that's the other thing. Like being around their video sets, I learned a lot. So like I got to go to like 3 big video sets, like 3 big budget video sets. I'd never been around that. So that's how I learned. My school was whatever shadowing them. That's how I learned. Like I was going to school for computer science. That helped me out because I was the only kid that could come to them and offer them web design stuff. So like when Clipse shit wasn't working out with Arista, we went ahead and designed our own Clipse website, designed our own family website, you know, like then I started taking over all their MySpace, you know, so I started running all their MySpace. My scheme was I was putting myself on the top 8. So then the most glorious day is when they let us run Pharrell's MySpace. In my mind was about to come out, and I put myself on the top 8 of the Pharrell joint. I was like, oh no, this is too crazy. Let me take it off. But it was there for like a day, and it got me mad followers. I was definitely on the top 8 of the NERD one because they were doing Seeing Sounds, and we designed the Seeing Sounds of MySpace as well.
Gotcha.
For NERD. Well, we did the NERD MySpace,
That
but it
shit
was when
sounds like so long ago, man. Like you're talking about
Bro,
MySpace, man.
years ago. And that was still before Push had bought me that camera. Deal was this. Childhood friend of mine had bought a camera. It was cool. It was the only HD camera we really had access to. So I told them, let me shoot Doorman. And they let me shoot Doorman. And they're like, oh, this is actually fire. Donald Glover put it on Tumblr and followed me on Twitter because he knew I did it. His shit was like, oh, this is grimy as fuck. So he followed me. And then that's when I was like telling Pusha, yo, we can make the next video even better. So they want to shoot Freedom. And so that's when I was like telling Steven Victor had just taken over as management, told Steven, yo, get Pusha and Mal to like buy me the 7D camera. All the new directors are starting to use that. It's like a low budget way to like get a lot of depth in your shots.
Gotcha.
They did. It was nothing, you know? They bought me the camera. I shot Freedom with it, caught Kenna's attention. Kenna was like, yo, I need a video. So unfortunately, the video I ended up doing for Kenna is because Haiti just had an earthquake.
Wow.
And for a song called Resurrection, he did with Mike Shinoda and Lupe. So even though I had a camera, we couldn't really use it other than them sending me over some behind the scenes in the studio footage on like some handycam stuff. We did got a lot of images from Red Cross, or I forgot what charity initiative it was, but we got a bunch of photos. And so we like started animating them. And Lupe was like, yo, who is this kid? He's nasty with it. And then now it's funny. Every time I link up with somebody, they're going through some label drama. First it was Family, then it was Clipse, and now Lupe's going through label drama. And Kenna's like, yo, get this kid to shoot the Beeman video. So then I get to direct Beeman, which was great because, you know, Neptunes did that beat.
Yep.
Lupe came to our hometown, you know, to shoot it. So we shot that in Virginia Beach. I remember, you know, Pusha dropping by, Shay dropping by. Everybody started Fam and Lupe were already friends because of the Kanye tour. So they had already a good friendship. So it like felt like home for Lupe, you know, shooting in Virginia Beach. So then I got to shoot on Beeman, which to this day everybody like, yo, that's like one of your most fire videos. But we shot it on the camera Pusha bought me. You know, if Pusha had never bought me that camera, I wouldn't be getting to shoot all these like videos on that next level. Right. Same camera years later I used to shoot Multiply for Rocky, Work for Ferg on that exact camera Pusha T bought me. That camera's made us so much money. Like we even shot Beyonce on that.
Like I had to go and check the website just to like, bro, I knew you have been doing a lot. Like you guys have been doing a lot, but I didn't realize that you guys had that Beyonce. The Beyonce card is like, you kind of suddenly dropped that in there. You didn't, you gotta brag. You gotta
lucky, you know, lucky. I mean, hard work and luck because like I said, like in the beginning, I didn't know when I was going to see my first paycheck. It wasn't until Shay was like, yo, Pharrell and them need a website for BBC Ice Cream's collab with Pepsi. And we didn't realize our deadline was 5 days. Only our company was stupid enough to take on something that crazy. We created an entire interactive website for BBC Ice Cream and Pepsi. And that website was on the back of every Pepsi BBC Ice Cream collab can that they did. And I didn't even ask for a budget, nothing. And then I think it was Pharrell's manager or somebody at the time was like, aren't you going to invoice us? I'm like, yeah, but I don't know how much to charge. And they're like, 30,000. I'm like, what? It's like we only did work for 5 days, 30,000. Dude, you got to understand. I just graduated from college. We just made $30,000 in 5 days. My dad's an accountant, so he sees like this $30,000 wire hit my account, and my dumbass goes and buys a Benz because I'm trying to be like Pusha T, because Pusha, Shay, all of them are pulling up to the studio in their cool cars, and I'm like driving a Mazda Protege or something. So I'm like, nah, I'm gonna cop a Benz. No, you know what I did? I copped an Infiniti first, bought a brand new Infiniti, and then the next big check came from them. I bought a Benz right after. I was not saving my money. I was stupid till the recession hit. We were living it up, man.
That's crazy. Like I remember that watching the Beyonce one, that was really dope. That
happened because of Diplo, actually. Because of Diplo. I was the DP on a Diplo video called Express Yourself. My friend Lil Internet was the director on that. And so Beyonce's like, yo, who did this video? He's like, oh, there's these kids. They work at this company, Karma Loop. Go reach out to them. So when Julian, aka Lil Internet, was like, yo, Beyonce wants me to direct this video for her. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, yeah. Wes, aka Diplo, showed him the video we did in New Orleans for Express Yourself. She wants to shoot it just like that. So the homies, we all packed our bags up, went to Texas with our 7Ds and the 5Ds and just started shooting. The rest is history, you know? Like, we didn't even know if that video was going to come out because we were like, yo, this seems unreal. And like, mad people were like competing to get their videos on that project.
Mhm.
We didn't know that video was going to, even though I can't talk too much about it because I signed a 50-page NDA.
Ooh.
But we did, yeah, it's crazy. They get intense. We didn't know that video was gonna come out till I was in the bathroom and I'm getting these text messages blowing up. Congrats! Like, what's going on? Everyone's like, "Yo, Beyonce's new album dropped, and we just saw you on the credits." I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, she dropped a whole like visual album. I'm like, oh fuck. It's like, yo, I pull up the visual album. I see my name scrolling up the credits. Everybody's like, you're good for life. You're set for the rest of your life. You got Beyonce in your credits now. I was like, all right, you're right. Hey, let's use that to our advantage. And then we just went to Jamaica right after that to shoot with Skrillex and Major Lazer. And we shot a Major Lazer music video. After that, like everything became very easy, you know, like we were like, because the new generation that I got with was the Rocky and Ferg crowd. They knew I had that relationship with Star Trak, but the ASAP fans didn't, you know? So like I wasn't getting more work because they knew I had my history with Push and all those guys. I was getting more work because I was just doing this stuff with Ferg and Rocky, you know? But we were always looking up to, it's funny, we were self-referencing our own stuff back then, later on to do stuff, you know?
So you gotta have like stuff in the vault that you gotta just laying around. Like, could there possibly
Give me
be?
a second. Let me show you what I got. Give me I think I got some crazy tapes. Let me see what I got. Dude, I think I still have like,
Sheesh.
yeah, I still got like crazy tapes, like still laying around with like, bro, I don't even know what these tapes are, but like some
You
of
gotta
them, like,
get like you gotta give us like a genius type of.
I know. I got to do something with all this, dude. Like, look at this. I think it says, I don't know if you can read it. What does that say? Family concert,
Yep. Sheesh.
right?
Bro.
Like, dude, so many tapes. I've never uploaded these because, you know, at the time we didn't think, we're like, oh man, this stuff doesn't look good. It's on a VHS tape. But now everybody's like, dude, this stuff's probably worth like so much money. But I'm like, for what? I don't know. Like, I like having it, but I don't want to like, I want to be respectful, you know, like putting this
Right.
kind of stuff out. It's got to be something that Pharrell would want, or like this idea we had about doing a documentary about the NERD forum and the Star Trak forum. I'd done an article about it on the Fader, but like maybe that footage can come in handy then if we're telling the story. But I'm not built to be doing the Pharrell story, you know, like around some of the best. I'm just fortunate that we got the crumbs, you know.
Yeah, man, that's dope. So, I mean, you describe Illusive Media's style as unique and unconventional. Like, what really goes into it? Like, what makes it special and different from other people?
I think because of the way we started out, we were so guerrilla with it. That guerrilla style, even on the bigger budgets, would show up, you know? So like there's this run and gun aspect, like when we're shooting Beyonce, like we're going everywhere, permits, no permits, breaking into places, shooting things. That created a certain like level of rawness that Pharrell liked later on, because Pharrell wanted me to do a video for what's that, the Mexican artist he was working with, Cap G.
Yeah,
He wanted me to shoot something like that back then, but I didn't end up working out. But you know, when we did the work video, we broke into a schoolyard in Harlem that was abandoned. So like we always knew location matters, you know? That's like a big part of it. So the texture and then the colors. Like me being Bengali, you know, I was always around like going to colorful weddings and seeing my relatives wear colorful clothes. So I just like to have vibrancy. You know, there was an era where everybody was doing everything super muted and monochromatic. I didn't. I just stuck to like the colorful stuff. If you look at I'm Beaming, very colorful, you know. That video cost us nothing. Now looking back at our budgets, you know. And it was funny because I didn't even put that on my reel, but somehow, I was on a phone call with Diane Martell, who had shot Lap Dance and Grindin'. So yeah. So I was commissioned to direct a video for Ty Dolla featuring Charlie XCX and Tinashe a few years ago. And what happened was they were like, you need Diane Martell's blessing for you to get this like final approval. I'm like, who? Diane Martell? Like, why am I talking to Diane Martell? Like, oh, she's Charlie XCX's creative director. And I was like, oh shit, now I'm nervous. Labels like, I mean, there's like, why would you be nervous? Like, you don't understand. I grew up watching all of Diane Martell's videos for the Clipse and NERD. Like, yo, y'all, she's just another director. This is a legend. And then when I was a kid, she was directing Wu-Tang, you know, like next to Hype, Diane Martell's one of my favorite directors. So like when I got on the phone with her, I'm bragging about all the new stuff. She's like, no. I like your I'm Beaming video that you did like 10 years ago. So that was a crazy moment too. But it further validated they liked our run and gun and like super super like DIY approach to our videos, you know?
Yeah.
So like even when we get big budgets, we still try to like incorporate some of that in.
So I saw you tweeted a little while back about like an outrageous story about you had to
Oh,
on a shoot because someone shot himself. Maybe not
bro.
that story, but any other outrageous behind the scenes stories that you felt like,
Yeah, I wrote a whole movie about it, based on it. So I got to direct Vic Mensa's "Oh My God," which Pharrell and Pusha's on,
yep,
right, bro? We drove out to Chicago to shoot the video, and then the day before the first day, well, no, the day before the second day of the shoot, first day of the shoot, we're already like feeling a lot of pressure from locals and stuff, like grilling us. It's Chicago,
right,
right? We're in their territory, just filming everywhere with Vic. Then the next day we were supposed to like shoot at this area, which was like a very safe area in Chicago. It was like owned by some billionaire, some gallery, but we were gonna shoot outside. It's like an artsy area.
yeah,
So Vic announces the location. I'm freaking out. I'm like, bro, you just announced it on Twitter. You got 5,000 likes. Everybody knows where to go. And this video is still very run and gun. And we don't have that kind of budget and security money. I'm freaking out. I'm calling Rock Nation. I'm like, yo, what are we going to do? Like, we need bodyguards. And everybody's like, show me you're freaking out. Like, chill out. Just go shoot the video tomorrow. His fan base is not that, like, they're not going to be that crazy. You know, I was like, all right. So we pull up to the shoot. Oh, yeah. These are like a bunch of nerdy white kids from the suburbs, like pulling up to the set. Whatever, not a big deal. I see Hannibal Beers dancing, having a good time. I see GLC, I see Don C, all these people showing up. I'm like, cool. It's good vibes out here. And then the reporter from Chicago Tribune's like, yeah, I'm doing a story on Vic about the positivity on Chicago. And soon as he's like about to finish the sentence, pop, gunshots. I go, no. I was like, oh shit, run for it. I don't know how it happened, but what's his name disappears. Hannibal Beers. He was dancing a second there. He disappeared. I am hiding behind a dumpster right now, not trying to get shot in Chicago. If Pharrell finds out, he's not gonna want any part of this video anymore. You know, Pharrell's schedule didn't work out anyway, so I was kind of pissed because honestly, I took the gig on because Pharrell was supposed to be in that video. I don't know if it was because you heard about the gun shot or the shooting going off, but Pusha T stuck to it, and then we ended up saying, "Yeah, we're not gonna." Well, I think because of the schedule, we ended up shooting Pusha in L.A. and me and Vic retold the story to Pusha. He was just like, you know, just another day because he's been in shootouts and shit. This ain't nothing new for him. For
right.
me, it was like I think it was my second shootout. First one was a club, but this is the first time I ever had a video set. You know, like craziest story ever. That's when I was realizing I got to start doing commercials or get into television, which I ended up doing. You know,
So talk about that. How
like,
did
I'm too
you
old for this shit, you know?
how did you get into the like working with, I know you said commercials, but like did that lead to being on Jesus?
Commercial. The commercial thing happened accidentally almost. At first, I wanted to do commercials and nobody would give us a chance because they're like, oh, your work is too urban. Like, just code word for like, we don't have any white people in our reel, right? So your work is too urban. I don't know if it fits our aesthetic. It went from that shit to like finally the industry realizing like y'all are literally selling your products because of Black culture.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, what I'm doing matters because obviously I am grateful to hip hop and everything that I've been surrounded by and blessed to have had, you know, all these friends we've built over the years. You know, it's all Black culture. And so, like, I'm just grateful to be a participant in that culture and been welcomed, you know. As a brown man, obviously, we have our own minority struggles and stuff, but it just doesn't compare to like the shit you got to fight for, you know, coming out of hip hop and everything like was crazy because like I said, people are like, all right, we don't know if your work fits Google. I won't say Google because Google wasn't an issue. It was actually Google was like one of the first folks that gave us a chance to do something cool. But that's also the connection with Pharrell and Virginia. Our friend Kimberly is an ambassador at Google and she gave us that chance.
Gotcha.
A Google project. But even years before that, I think it was because Rocky broke into the mainstream and became such a commercial success that we started getting commercial opportunities because of that as well. Because people wanted like that ASAP Og look, you know. And this was at a point I had already done Lamborghini High, and that became a big video. So like people wanted that aesthetic finally. They were wanting that street vibe, street aesthetic that you see everywhere. But like the shit that we wouldn't get hired for is what we were getting hired for finally. And so then I got to shoot for Adidas, Crocs, New York Knicks, bunch of brands since then, you know, Gentle Monster, who's funded by Louis Vuitton. So just grateful to be around all that, you know.
So how did that get you to Desus and Mero?
Desus and Mero, I mean, my brother knew Mero since the beginning when they were just starting out already.
Gotcha.
I was actually in 2013 going to shoot a pilot for Mero, D&M, because they were going to do Yo MTV Raps. I think they were trying, no, not Yo MTV Jams. They were trying to bring MTV Jams back,
Wow.
but it didn't work out. But we always had respect for one another. And Mero had told my brother, if I ever get on to a certain level, I'm bringing you with me. And he did. So he brought my brother on, and my brother brought me on. And so that's how I got into television. And unfortunately, the show got canceled, but I loved television. I still do love television. We just got to do Jimmy Kimmel. I'm not Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon last week, and brought back that feeling again. So, it's exciting. We're writing TV show pilots and stuff. So there's always stuff that's in the works. It takes years for some of it to get off. Like,
Right.
for example, like DNM's been wanting like a big opportunity, and they'd finally gotten it, So you got to be patient. I'm working on like 3 movie scripts right now, TV show pilot, all these different things. I've got meetings with other TV show networks and stuff coming up too. So we'll see,
Yeah, so you talked about Jimmy Fallon. I think that's a perfect segue to my guy, Armani White. So
Yeah.
obviously I'm in Philly, and just in my role in the brand marketing role at Temple Athletics, like part of it is just trying to like figure out ways to tap into the culture of Philly, right? Just to make sure that it's cool, like the brand is still viewed as cool. So just on a whim, I reached out to Armani and his people to have him come out to a basketball game. So he ended up coming last month in January, courtside seats, we mic'd him up. So it was cool. Like, but then when I realized that I'd already reached out to you, and then you guys helped with you guys executive produced the Goated video, which was dope.
Yeah, we kind of do all of Armani stuff now.
Got you.
We did Billie Eilish as well.
Okay.
I was actually the one who called Noriega's old A&R
Wow.
and said, yo, we got to get that record cleared. And they were already connected to the A&R, but they didn't realize that that's what they should go through. So when they had to get that record clear, I don't think even Armani knows this, but Armani's manager called me. He's like, tell me, yeah, we're working on getting the record clear. I was like, yo, Gino used to manage. Gino used to be Nori's A&R. He's the one that A&R Superthug. Like, hit him up, and then boom, they got it cleared.
Wow.
I'm
trying to get him on the show too. Like, obviously there's a connection because of the song and the sample from Nothing.
Yeah, we're doing his 3rd or 4th video from this EP. Actually, the 4th video. Yeah, we're doing his 4th video from the EP next week.
Got you.
I don't know how much detail. I probably can't go into too many details about it, but yeah, we're about to shoot that next week. So Billy creative directing a lot of this stuff, and I signed these 2 directors, these 2 young talented directors, and they're directing all his visuals.
Gotcha.
Because like I said, I'm kind of like playing more of a mentor role nowadays. Like, I've been in the game 20 years now, like I don't have the same energy, and I can't be as resourceful as I once was for the smaller up and coming stuff. Now Armani's budgets are getting much better too, which is great, but these kids gave him their all, when we had barely a budget to do the first video for Billie Eilish, and that went viral, like one of the biggest songs on TikTok too. So like, great experience, So we executive produced the video for Billie Eilish. Then we did another joint he had, I forgot the name, and then we just did Goated, and now we're about to do another one. So like, he's a frequent collaborator of ours,
and he's dope. I think he's like, obviously Billie Eilish for
super talented dude, and super humble, super down there.
Like when he came to the game, it was very much like happy to be here. Like, we had him back.
Positive vibes, man. Positive vibes. That's what I love about Armani.
Back in the VIP room with some donors, and donors were like, "Can we take a picture?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." Like, that's the type of energy that, like, you know that he's got it. He understands what this is about.
It's going to be great for him, I think, if he just stays in that mindset. Yeah, and he's constantly trying to push himself as an artist too. So for us, it's always like trying to be early, just like we were early with Rocky and Ferg before they were like on the levels they were. It's always about like having that magnetism towards that early talent. That's why people are like asking, how did you get with like all these people that are so big? I was like, well, we got with them before they were that big. We got with Diplo before they were big. Like, Diplo did my mixtape that I did like years ago before I did his video. I used to manage, me and Shay used to manage a group called Mansions on the Moon.
Okay.
And Benzi remixed and mixed for us. And Diplo was the guy that hosted that one for us. Well, mixed it as well with us. So it was Benzi, I think Eccentric was involved. I'm not sure, but definitely DJ Benzi was involved. And then, Pharrell executive produced for us. But yeah, it's like, it's cool, like being early on certain things.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you thinking about? You just said that you've been in for 20 years. You're letting some of the younger guns take more of a role. Like, what are your thoughts on like the landscape of the creative? I feel like being a creative, everyone's a creative now because of social media, but like, what do you think the landscape looks like, and how that kind of affects what people, like what you've been able to do and what you're
I can't predict where it's going to go, but I know AI is like changing the whole game up now because of it, because you can do interesting storyboards and you can cut out so many people even in the process. It's going to be my brother in the background pulling up right now. Okay, he doesn't know I'm on a podcast. It's all good. He actually produces for like Rocky and Ferg and all those guys.
Gotcha.
And he was like 14 when the first time we ever played Mr. Me Too.
What's
So
up?
like, yeah, like he got in the music business because he was around me in the studio all the time, early. So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, that was a memory that I'd love to talk about, man. First time hearing Mr. Me Too.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. So yeah, let's definitely come back to that. So what any advice for the up and comers that are trying to
Yeah. So advice for up and comers. I don't know if what I did is gonna work for everybody, but for me, it was like I wasn't money hungry or anything. I just was driven by the passion to create and be creative, right? So like I didn't care when I was gonna see my first check. Not everybody has that same privilege to be in that position, but if you do take advantage of it, get in early, Like I said, like I've been in this 20 years. Once I graduated from college, like not even college, when I was in high school, I was learning how to edit and stuff like that. That was before YouTube existed.
right?
I was barely like internet didn't even have cable connection. We were on dial up, That's how old I am. I'm 40. I'm about to be 41 this month. So I think the best way to get on is find early talent, use them as your muse to work off of that. Worked for me with Rocky and Ferg. Now I'm mentoring these other younger directors, telling them to do that with Armani and these other artists we're meeting now. So like, as a mentor, I also tell them like learn from my mistakes. But I think the future is still gonna be bright because like you've got all this sick AI products coming out like Runway ML. They just released this thing called Gen 1, which looks insane. It's like image to image stuff that can like take a video clip. And if you just with a command or a prompt, oh, turn this into like stop motion style and Legos, it'll do that. Like what? Like, this is stuff that kids have access to that we could never imagine that studios with billions of dollars didn't even have access to back then. And it's all, in your hands now.
Right.
So like really, we should really be pushing the creative to another level. That's what I'm hoping the youth does because they've got the resources more than we've ever had,
The technology is crazy. Like I think that
you can make crazy shit on your iPhone now,
yeah, I just went to a Nike event here in Philly. They're doing like a bunch of events in big cities about their Web3 platform and how that's
Yeah.
going to be next level for them in terms of helping provide opportunities to like put the power in the creators' hands that are like all of our sneaker heads that are like that live that stuff, but also, to add that extra layer of authenticity, which is just them describing it like theoretically you could buy a pair of Jordans and you also get like the digital pair that you can throw on your Fortnite character or on your 2K play,
Yeah.
which is
I mean, I'm working with that
crazy.
company End State that's similar.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. The technology is crazy. Like these kids,
Yeah, what I'm afraid of, like, is AI becoming the talent. That's what I'm afraid of. Like,
right?
when labels start signing AI artists, that's when it's gonna be scary.
Yeah,
You know,
that
when
thing with the
when 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 Future decides to say, "Hey, you could just have my rights," and then the AI just takes all his voice and deep fakes his, it's gonna happen. I'm not saying him specifically, but all these artists are already selling out their catalog. The next process is them saying, "Yo, the AI can have my rights to everything," and then they're gonna start creating original music based on some formula. So that's the stuff that I'm afraid of when it like makes up for laziness and creativity.
for sure. So obviously, a huge part of you trying to take a back seat in this role and be more of a mentor is you are a new dad too. Talk
Yeah,
about
that's the other reason. I don't have that same energy anymore to like chase around and get shot at in the streets. Yeah, I want to live. Not that I'm saying I want to send these young kids out die in the field, but I just, like my body hurts at a certain point, like I gotta get sleep at a certain hour. I used to stay up till 5 a.m. like editing. Can't do that stuff anymore. So, the thing is, blessed to have seen a lot of financial blessings, like a lot of financial success eventually, right? Like I'm a
right.
late bloomer when it comes to financial success in this. First 10 years, I was broke or breaking even. Or when I made a lot of money, I had a broke mentality, bought cars and stuff.
Got
So
that
like,
band.
yeah, I got 30, let me get this. Yo, 50K coming in, get this. So I was still broke because the mentality was broke, right? But it wasn't until I got married that my wife was really good with money. She started like, as I started getting my first big checks coming in lump sums, house number one, house number two, house number three, we got into real estate. So like for me now, I have more creative freedom and the creative creative freedom to also mentor and not have to like keep up, because the real estate business we have on the side that we've invested like 3 million into is like keeping us afloat when the creative stuff isn't always going to pay. Because, you know, the creative work, at least for a small business like us, it's like one day the client comes to you and they've got $1 million worth of projects, then it's silence for 3 months and then you figure it out, you know? So I finally am in that place where I don't have to like worry about the finances as much to keep this going, you know, to keep the legacy going for the brand, even for Illusive Media. We've had it since we were kids. And then the daughter thing, like being a new dad, I'll go into that because I'm so exhausted. You know, even when I had my most financial success, I wasn't happy. I felt like something was missing.
Got you.
You know, and you know, my wife and I, we had you know, trials and tribulations health wise. So we didn't always think it was the best time to have a child. My wife had a brain tumor. Like the year I made my first M, my wife has a brain tumor.
Wow.
Couldn't even enjoy like fruits of the labor because I'm thinking, oh, this the love of my life might, you know, go through something this crazy. Nothing matters, you know.
Right.
So that's balance in life is crazy, man. You're always going to be humbled by something else. You think you're on top of the world, and, you know, God finds a way to humble you. And it's my daughter's gotten me closer to spirituality as well, you know. Growing up Muslim, I always like had my faith, but like I think seeing my daughter and seeing the innocence and all that's like brought me back to a different place.
That's dope.
You really appreciate that. Like it's not about, for me, it's not about, because you know, if you go on social media, you can get depressed easily, like, oh, I fell off or I'm washed because this artist or that person is like doing better than you. That can happen easily if you're scrolling. We're all guilty because we only post our flexes. We're not posting our hardships on there. You save that for Facebook. But you know, go on IG, everybody's doing well. Everybody's on a private jet. Everybody's got a cool car. Everybody's got a model girlfriend all of a sudden. You know, you just scroll through all this stuff. It's like super depressing. When you have a daughter, you don't have time to worry about that crap, which is great. Like you just want your daughter to stay healthy. And this is all that matters. So it's grounded me to another level. And honestly, like you start thinking like a child again. And that's when some of your best creativity happens. So I think my daughter's going to inspire a level of creativity that I haven't had in a while either. Like that youthful creativity, that innocence, that pure creativity that's not inspired by what you see in the mainstream, but from life.
Yeah, because kids don't know any better. They just see stuff and that's like,
exactly.
Yeah, like of course it can rain meatballs. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, one of my favorite movies is this Japanese movie called House, and he was inspired by his 10-year-old daughter. She was having dreams and he was explaining it. That's how he made the movie, you know? So like, yeah, I think my creative process is going to be a lot different. I'm getting inspiration from different things now.
And that'll be dope too when she starts to get older, when she understands a little bit more about what you do. I mean,
yeah, it's funny. She's already been on set with like an Emmy-winning actor. We were shooting a movie for this kid, Jarrell Jerome. He's signed to RCA, but he was in Moonlight and he won an Emmy for Best Actor for When They See Us. So I just did Jarrell's short film, but we had to shoot a scene in my basement, actually, in my basement office. And my daughter obviously is home. Like, I'm not going to be able to take her outside to go on a set, but we shot this and then got this like adorable photo of Jarrell and her together. And I'm like, oh, when she grows up, I'm gonna be like, yo, that's an Emmy-winning actor you were on set with. You know, it's gonna be funny.
All right, let's get into the music, man. Let's get into music. Let's go ahead and let's tell your story about Mr. Me Too. So before you get into that, I don't know if you had a chance to check it out. This past August, to celebrate 20 years of Lord Willin', I talked about the episode I had with Michael Denzel Smith. That was really more just about the album, specifically about the Clipse and just us being from Virginia. But then I had my boys, like my best friends from Richmond. We got together and did a bracket to pick the best Clipse album song. Not nothing from the mixtape, nothing from like features. Like, and Mr. Me Too was the winner.
Yeah, I just have fond memories of that. The first album, I didn't know the Clipse yet. Gotcha. When Lord Willin' dropped, it was 2002, the summer where I dropped my calculus class. I was taking a summer Calc 3 class. I dropped it because we knew they were shooting When Was the Last Time at the beach house. So, exam is the next day. Me and my best friend, we started Illusive Media together. Like, I think we're going to end up dropping this class because we got to get in that club where they're shooting the video. This is our only chance to meet the Clipse. Bro, there was no way we were getting in. The line was crazy. I was like, we just dropped this class to study for our exams for no reason. We were so naive. So I do have fond memories of Lord Willin', but it was from a fan perspective. Fond memories of Hell Hath No Fury is different because I was in the process of seeing it happen, being recorded in the studio. Like my name is in the linear notes on the thank yous, you know? So, and same for Till the Casket Drops. You know, my name is on the liner notes or whatever, you know? Like it's crazy to be in the physical copy of a booklet and like have your name in there for life, you know,
Sure.
as a thank you. So like Mr. Me Too, man, was like my first taste of what that album was going to sound like. They had played that on a day when I think I can't remember what was the reason, because this is way before the song came out. My brother and I, we were dropping something off at Master Sounds, and I see Pharrell's Rolls Royce parked outside, said spaceship. And the sound that was coming out of the studio sounded like a spaceship because it was just the instrumental of Mr. Me Too. It sounded like the year 2080 or something. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And then I peek inside, they're recording Mr. Me Too. And then I get to see the video for first time we ever got to see the video for Mr. Me Too, even Pusha. First time Pusha got to see the video of Mr. Me Too was at my house.
Wow.
The director, this is before Vimeo and YouTube existed. The director sent us a QuickTime file. I'm the only nerdy kid that knows how to burn a QuickTime file into a DVD. So Lee Harvey, Malice, Sandman, everybody's over at my house, bro. This is when I'm still living with my parents in Virginia Beach. They're all over at my house to watch the first cut, and it's at my house on a DVD. And we inserted it in, and we're like, oh, this is sick. We're watching the video, you know? So that was crazy. That's why I just have such fond memories of that record, just that album. Yeah. And it was when their old manager came up with an idea. It's like, I got our idea for the merch. Can you make it? I took a clip art of a hand like this, and I made the Mr. Me Too t-shirts because I was doing the Clipse merchandising at the time. And so I designed the Mr. Me Too t-shirt as well, where it's like, you know what the I'm with stupid idea?
Yeah.
We flipped it and put Mr. Me Too with like the hand pointing this way. Yo, we made so much money off those tees. Pushing, we were at an era where they didn't care about merchandising money because that was shit we were giving away for free. Bro, I literally paid our rent that month. They didn't even want any of it, like any of the money from the proceeds from whatever we made off the. Like, yeah, you go ahead and pay your rent with that. We had just had a new office.
That's dope, man. I think that song, part of the reason, like in the discussion and why we chose that song as the best song is just because, and you, obviously you lived it. So just the magnitude of that record when it came out, when you talk about the hiatus, coming off the hiatus, like the Wayne conflict bubbling up there, like there was so much around them coming back, and for that to be the first song, and the way the beat is just, like you said, the beat, it sounds like some futuristic shit. Pharrell raps crazy on it. Like,
oh yeah. I always tell Pharrell, I always tell people Pharrell's one of my favorite rappers too. And a lot of people don't know when we was doing the prequel mixtape, I was the one downloading the instrumentals for that. So I was the one downloading the instrumental for Liquid Swords and all that stuff. I was the one downloading those.
That's crazy. I just listened to that last week.
I don't know what it was, like Kazaa or something. I was downloading off of that. So he's rapping off of stuff I'm downloading off the internet. It was crazy era, man.
That's so dope, man. Like just listening to that mixtape last week, it's Pharrell's rapping is underrated, man. Like I think
I like that mixtape more than that album. Pharrell doesn't even like that. Pharrell doesn't like that album.
He doesn't like, I think that we talked about this on the anniversary of that album. Like I think the album is dope, but like for the fans, like that mixtape is crazy.
That mixtape is insane, bro. That mixtape is that. There's a photo of me filming him at a signing, you know, when the album came out. And I remember I was like, man, I could just tell, he's not into this album. Like, this is crazy. He'd love to forget about it, apparently. But you know what it is, though, with Pharrell? Like, he's also, like, not a guy that likes to look back at the past.
Right.
He's not like a Throwback Thursday kind of guy. I don't think you ever see him posting an old photo, and he could post brilliance of sick old photos. That's his key to, like, staying relevant. He always pushes for the future. He does not like to look back past.
Right. That's like the quote that he said when he was talking about Jupiter, how he was, like, in the space, looking at his past, in his presence, but knowing what the future.
Ready to let go.
Like,
he's ready to let go. I'm different. I love looking back at the past. I just have a nostalgic heart. Like, people joke me about it. Like, yo, man, why do you always go back to the past? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just something about that era, you know? I just like, that's why I started Garage Sale, which is like my vintage mood board, you know? Every once in a while, I'll sprinkle in photos that nobody else has that I have access to. So, like, I remember posting the photo. First time I went to so Beeper Record video was shot twice.
Wow.
So the first one was Zinga Stewart, who shot the video. I was on set for that. And I took the photo of Pharrell's Enzo. And when I posted it, nobody'd seen that photo ever before. I posted it on my Instagram. Tyler, the creator, liked it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy how much of an impact that Enzo still has on people.
Yeah, man, that's absolutely insane, bro. Like you just told like a million stories that are gonna
I
blow.
could go on forever because it's not like the truth is I would see Pharrell a handful of times, but we were always around Pusha, we were always around Fam, because and a lot with Chad too, like especially in the like late 2000s, Chad would come to our office all the time, like when I got into being like a more of a music manager, I was managing Christian Rich and Mansions on the Moon with Shay, and Pharrell took all those projects in, but I would see Chad in the studio all the time. We were recording some of that album, I think, at Hovercraft, but stories, there are millions of them, man, because I was in Virginia Beach, I was there. Not as much as other people, maybe, there are other people that are closer to them, obviously, been there for different things, but the memories I have, man, incredible. Like I have so many funny stories. I could go on forever with the funny stories because we used to all roast each other. We used to have like a roast circle between me, Shay, Doug, and Fam. We'd all joke each other's clothes, and I used to film some of them, and they used to be hilarious. So just to have it's like a family thing for me, with those guys.
That's what's up, man. That's really dope.
I'll repeat, like it's not like I would see Pharrell all the time, but the times we would see him, he'd be so awesome to us, and so like when I was making a big leap to move out of Virginia Beach to move to New York, Pharrell was the cosign I got to get my position at Karmaloop, and then when I left Karmaloop, went to Fader, same thing. Pharrell was the cosign. He had told Rob Stone, this is a good dude. It was Joseph Patel and Pharrell, those were the cosigns. And Pharrell doesn't have to do that. Like he doesn't have to respond to anybody's texts about little old me. But he remembers everybody, he looks out for as many people as possible. Like we're still eating off of stuff that he's planted for us. Like this Google project, this UPS project we did, that's because he has a forum called Mighty Forum. I got hired to do the guest project for that, because he gets the sponsor for that forum. So, I got to shoot for that. We're still like eating off of stuff he's planted years ago, and I always tell him, thank you. You don't even realize what you've done for us.
Yeah.
Millions of people have started businesses and just inspiration from that man.
And I think that like exactly what you just said is kind of like how I like look at this podcast, right? Like the music that we're talking about, some of it is 20, almost some of it 30 years old, but it's the impact, right? Like everyone, he's had his hands in so much, like you said, all these seeds that he's sprinkled in all these different areas of the culture, that there will always be something that will bring it back to him and bring it back to what him and Chad have done and what they've meant to music, but also just to like our society, which is like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about that. And then just always for me specifically, to bring it back to have people like you who have the Virginia connection as an added layer to it, to really show like, yo, Virginia, like we really do this shit. Like it's really dope.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like never did I think like I'd be in a position where, Fam hits me up to this day, like, yo, what do you think about this business idea, that business idea? Because him and Pharrell are like best friends, him and Fam. That's like family. And so like it's always like humbling to this day, like to do cool shit with these guys. Whether it's like the Sony 360 project we did a few years ago, Pharrell just intertwined with the business we're doing all the time. Whether he's present or not, his presence is there.
Yeah, that's real. All right. Before I let you go, impossible question. What's your favorite Neptunes, Nerd, Pharrell, whatever related song of all time?
Superthug. Easy. And then second would be Grindin'. I say Superthug because that was the one that did it for me. That was the sound that I heard, and I was like, yo, but Grindin' second.
Yeah, man.
My favorite two Neptunes beats of all time. And it's probably like I'm favorite, like, oh yeah, duh. Like pick that. Like yesterday, I got so happy. It was yesterday, 2 days ago, when Supreme just did you see that Supreme's new campaign? Yeah. They use Super Helicopter. Crazy.
Yep.
Timeless record.
That record, my man, I shout him out every now and then too. Scott Venner put Super in the Entourage movie when Ari's going to that meeting at the end and he out there. I'm like, come on, man. This like, do you guys know what you're watching right now? Like that, amazing, bro. Like those two.
It always saddens me if some young kid doesn't understand like the relevance or the importance these guys are. I'm like, what? I was like, if you don't appreciate the Neptunes, we're not gonna get along.
Right. And then when we talk about Nora, we have to always like say, yeah, like, Nori, the host of Drink Champs, like this is his song. Like this is
it's like I'm mad. I gotta tell you, like before Drink Champs, this guy was one of the illest. Like, like Superthug introduced me to one of my favorite albums, hip hop, N.O.R.E. N.O.R.E. is one of my favorite albums. Like, had introduced me to CNN and all that. I went because I didn't listen to CNN first. I listened to Superthug, and it got me into that album, and I played the hell out of that album.
Yeah.
Like, NORE got so many spins.
Because for me, I think I'm like maybe if you're about to be 41, I'm about to be 37. So like we're not that.
Oh yeah. We came up in the same era.
Yeah. So like
100%.
I remember hearing the song NORE on like this Source Hip Hop Hits Volume 2 compilation, which was insane. That whole CD was crazy from front to back.
Yeah. I
DMX,
heard that first. I think Trackmasters is the NORE, the
bro.
actual single. When I
Yeah,
heard that, I was like, well, this, because that production on that album is so crazy.
crazy,
These
man.
yell people are on there.
Crazy.
Yeah, man.
Superthug and Grinding easily are in that. Like if everyone wants to have, obviously, I think it's dying down. But if the versus conversation came up, those are the two songs that he's got to play.
Yeah,
no question.
You can't have a versus with those guys. That's unfair. Like
He would never do it. He, like you said, he's not really into the going back in the past shit. Like that's.
yeah.
But also, they have too many songs.
Timbaland either. Like those guys, man. Like one of the greatest things I wish that had happened was like if the Surrounded by Idiots project came back to life. The reason it didn't happen is because their management back then, Timbaland Magoo's management, didn't want it to happen. That's why we were deprived of SBI. I knew Larry live at the time, and Larry ended up managing Nate Dangerhands. Larry was the member of SBI that kind of has all the stories.
Got you.
He was the one that like went to the Ford plant or to work there when everybody else started making platinum hits. But then Tim, being such an awesome guy, like brought him back. But anyways, I could, I'm a fanatic when it comes to this stuff.
Man.
I can go on Virginia
Big White
Music.
Spaceship is such a dope record. Like,
oh my god, I love that record. My friend worked on that album. Hannon.
Like Big White Spaceship is dope because if you know them, you can hear, knowing that was way before they both blew up. Like you can hear the elements of both of their sounds combined. Like that's why I love that record.
Yeah, it's like, yo, what would a Timbaland and Neptune beat sound like together, or the sound that would create that? Like it's like an outer space vibe.
Yeah, man, bro. I gotta figure out a reason though. We'll have you on the show every year, bro.
Well, I got millions of other stories, so we'll talk about some more later.
Before I let you go, anything that you want to plug, anything you want the people to look out for, you got coming up?
Like we're gonna start doing hopefully workshops and stuff, as like I'm getting more into the mentorship. So go to our website, illusivemedia.com, ILLUSIVEMEDIA.com. We've got all our projects up there, but stay tuned, I guess. Or follow me on social media at Shomi Patwary, SHOMI
Bro, this has been great.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate your
Thank
time, man. You're very important to what we got going on in culture.
I appreciate it. Man, it means a lot.
I just want to make sure that people had a chance to connect with you. So before we go, ODU, do you know my boy Carl Giles? But he's kind of in that space. He works at Universal now.
We probably like have very similar friends, like mutual friends. I mean, we definitely got mutual friends. If you're an ODU and I went to ODU and then he's in the music space, we definitely got some mutual friends.
And my godbrother, his name is Raymond Shaw, but he went by DJ RNS. But he was at ODU.
That sounds mad familiar. RNS?
Yeah, that's my godbrother.
I definitely know that name, dude.
Yeah,
I definitely know that name.
He was DJing and in the radio space, but like when he was at ODU, he left and came back to Richmond to go to VCU, but he was definitely at ODU around the same time as you. Like that's like he's my godbrother, but he's like
I was at ODU from 2001. Took me a while to graduate. 2006. So 2001 to 2006, I think. No, 2005. 2001 to 2005 or six. I forget. I had like one extra class left to like finish.
Word, man. All right, bro. Well,
all right, man.
Appreciate your time for sure. Appreciate your time, man. Everyone, appreciate y'all listening to another episode of Neptune Sunday. Catch us next Neptune Sunday. Make sure you like and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Neptune Sunday. You can follow me at VMoss08 on Instagram and Twitter. Shout out to the homie Vogue. Catch her next time she's on the show. We got some big topics coming out with the rest of the year. But I appreciate everyone's support and keep listening. Peace and love. Peace.